Hello everyone, Charles Watts here, the Arsenal correspondent at Goal, joining you on Wednesday, just after Mikel Arteta's press conference ahead of tomorrow night's game against Wolves at Molineux. Arsenal back in action finally, after what has felt like a never-ending break. Only one game though, and then there's another weekend off for Arsenal, so we're going to have to make do with another week and a bit without Arsenal after this one, but hopefully we can go into it on the back of a win tomorrow night. Would be a big win as well against the Wolves side, who are right behind Arsenal in the Premier League table, have been impressive this season. Not exactly free scoring, but don't give away many goals. And when you kind of look at what Arsenal are struggling with at the moment, you think it might not be a high scoring one tomorrow. Let's put it that way. But Mikel Arteta has been speaking ahead of that game. Not too much about the match, it has to be said, because this was the first time that he sat down in front of the media to speak after the January transfer window and after the Aubameyang situation. So obviously that was a very sort of dominant theme in the press conference, which was to be expected. And to be fair to Arteta, he spoke pretty openly about it. Didn't go into, great depth about exactly what went on, as you'd expect. He'll be keeping that to himself, but he did speak about it. And so we'll start today's video on that. If you haven't seen the press conference yet, it is on YouTube and Arsenal's channel, so you'll be able to catch it if you want to go and have a watch. But this is what he had to say about, just first of all, about sort of Aubameyang's departure. He said, Auba's trajectory at the club and the importance of his goals is unquestionable. I'm extremely grateful for what Auba has done, for his contribution since I've been here. And the way I see myself in that relationship is the solution, not the problem. What I am saying, that I have been this solution 100%. I can look in the eye of anybody. I do a lot of things wrong for sure, but the intention all the time is the best, and not for me. It's for the club and for the team. He's obviously speaking there in response to Aubameyang during his Barcelona unveiling, said that Arteta was the problem and why he had to leave Arsenal. Arteta having a say back now, saying he wasn't the problem, he was the solution. I mean, we don't know exactly what he means by that, because he wouldn't go into it. All he would say was, I'm the solution. And I suppose what he probably looks at it and says, look, if it wasn't for me, this could have dragged on for even longer. But Arteta has allowed Aubameyang to leave, and that has got rid of the situation for Arteta, but also for Aubameyang. It means he's gone to a great club in Barcelona where he can play, score goals, be in the team. Had he been at Arsenal, it looked ultimately like that relationship wasn't going to be fixed, was it? So he was going to be sitting on the bench. So maybe that's what Arteta is getting at when he says he was the solution to the issue, because maybe some managers would have just let Aubameyang sit on the bench or sit in the stands and not in the squad on a match day if he wasn't, if he fell foul of them disciplinary wise, which is what Aubameyang has done for Arteta. He was then asked, he disappointed how this has all ended. It was only 18 months ago you handed him this massive new contract and played a massive part in that because you wanted to keep him. You kept him as captain. He said, well, I think it has ended in the best possible way now for everybody. I think when things change and the context changes, this is part of football. We all made the decision that the best thing to do was to move on, and now he plays for Barca. We have had different kind of meetings, and it's a decision that everybody we took collectively, with the club, with the player, and with his agent. As I said in last video, I think I spoke to you guys, and I said it kind of feels like it's time to move on now. It's never going to be, with this situation though, you have to expect what's going to happen here. Every goal Aubameyang's going to score for Barcelona is going to be like, he should be at Arsenal. Every game Arsenal go without scoring a goal or struggle or Lacazette misses chances, it's Aubameyang should have stayed. So it is never going to go. It is going to be hard to move on from it until the summer anyway, when Arsenal are going to do business and bring in some strikers. And I think Arteta's going to have to accept that in a way, but it is going to get a bit boring if this is just going on all the time now. The decision's been made, whether you agree with it or not, it has been made. And personally for me, I feel like the right decision has been made. I think he had to go because he was clearly not going to come back in. We know that with Arteta. History tells us what happens in these situations. When he falls out with a player, they don't come back. Whether that's Arteta's fault, again, it's up for you to make your mind up and to decide on. But what we do know is fact is that they don't tend to come back into the reckoning. So if that was going to be the case with Aubameyang, which it clearly was, then he may as well go. I've never had an issue with Aubameyang going. My big issue was the fact that Arsenal didn't bring in a replacement in January. Yes, it might have been hard to bring in a number one target, and you don't want to just panic by. But for me, still, and I'll talk about it in a minute. Mikel has been speaking about the lack of signings in January, and I understand the situation of not wanting to panic buy, but there's got to be someone out there you could probably find, even if it's just to add another body on loan until the end of the season who can potentially give you a little bit more or offer you something different to Lacazette and Nketiah, because let's face it, they don't score many goals. So they've got to be, can you just find someone? If you take the decision with Aubameyang, that's fine, but maybe bring in someone even on loan just to get you through till the end of the season, or to help get you through to the end of the season, because we know how important these next 17 games are. But again, this is something I've already discussed. There's no point in me going over it in great length. So that's what Mikel had to say about Aubameyang and his exit. In terms of January and the lack of signings, he was obviously questioned on that as well. This is the first time that we've had the chance to speak to Arteta since the deadline passed without Arsenal adding anyone apart from Austin Trusty, the young American defender who stayed with Colorado Rapids and won't be arriving at Arsenal until the summer. And this is what he had to say in terms of lack of signings. We did what we believe was the right thing to do. First of all, with the players that had to leave, obviously, the squad composition and the contract situations were catching up in many of those situations. We had to make decisions, be fair as well with those players that haven't had a lot of minutes this season. So that's what we did. Then we had a very clear plan of what we could do, but then it has to be doable. Edu and his team did a fantastic job and they continue to do that, but we are very clear we only want the best possible people and the best possible players at this club, and when we're in a rush and the reasons are not the right ones to get a player on board, we decided not to do it. So basically saying that, look, we didn't panic buy, we didn't buy someone just for the sake of it. The players we wanted we couldn't get, and so we took the decision that we're not just going to go out and buy anyone because of that, which again is fair. I think you don't want to, especially when it comes to strikers, you don't want to, this is such a key part of Arsenal's squad now. There's been a lot of rebuild. The defence is almost sorted. The midfield is kind of, still needs to be done really. But the defence, we know, the striker is a mess. Aubameyang's gone, Lacazette and Nketiah out of contract. Basically, Arsenal are going to have no strikers in the summer. So they've got to go out and spend big on those strikers. It's going to be absolutely crucial to Arteta's success if he's going to have success, which is crucial basically to him staying in a job. And so you can understand them not panic buying. If you can't get the players you want in January, then you wait and you try and get them in the summer when it might be easier to get them out of their clubs. I'm fine with that, as I've said. It's just that if you can't do that, I still think there's the opportunity maybe just to get a short-term loan in between now and the end of the season, which isn't a panic buy. It's just someone to give you another option. And, I can't believe that there was no one out there who could have possibly provided some sort of different option to Lacazette and Nketiah. But that's what they ultimately decided to do, and that was Mikel's reasoning for it. And he was then asked about not signing a striker, not replacing Aubameyang. He said, we have three strikers, we have Laka and we have Eddie with us, and they are both more than capable of scoring goals as they've shown over the years with us. Not sure about that with certainly with Eddie. Again, when we have to replace or improve the squad, it can only be with a player that we are certain of. First of all, that they're the right person and right character to join, and then they're the player with the right quality to straight away impact the performance of the team and our capacity to build a future around him as well. So again, goes back to the previous answer. He's talking there about not bringing in anyone just for the sake of it, but only bringing in someone who is going to improve the team, they can build that team around in the future and be part of the rebuild, which we're going to see in the summer. There's no doubt about it. Arsenal signed two strikers in the summer, I would imagine, or certainly two forwards, maybe one central striker and another player who can play either on the wing or up front. They will invest heavily in the forward department. They have to. There's no doubt about it. And so that's kind of what he's saying there. But again, it keeps coming back to what I keep saying, that, yeah, fine, that I get that. I get the long-term vision, I get what you're trying to do, but still it feels like you're maybe one striker short, and you could have potentially gone out and done something on loan. There must have been someone out there who could have helped on loan between now and the end of the season. He says we have three strikers, which I thought was quite interesting, because he only listed Laka and Eddie there in the actual quote when he names players, but he said we have three strikers. So I'm presuming he means the third one is Gabriel Martinelli, who is the other option that he can play up front. We haven't really seen that too much under Arteta. He tends to play Martinelli on the left, as we know, but maybe that is he is looking at that as an option to get them through till the end of the season as well, if needs be. He also did confirm that Alexander Lacazette will be captain now between until the end of the season, basically until he leaves. But because Auba's lost the captaincy, Lacazette's sort of taking it on. He was vice captain, and he will now do that job until the end of the season. Ahead of the game against Wolves, he obviously spoke about the importance of it and how Arsenal have had a good time in Dubai, and he feels like the squad is in good shape now, recovering well. Admitted January was very, very tough, although he said that maybe results didn't reflect some of the performances. He felt they should have got more against Manchester City. I think we all agree with that. And he felt they should have beaten Burnley. Again, not the greatest of performance, but I do agree that was a game that Arsenal should have won. They had the chances, they didn't take it. But he knows that January has caused them problems and that they need to hit the ground running now, and it's going to be a very difficult game at Wolves, who Arsenal are going to play twice in the next fortnight, with that rescheduled game at home coming on, I think it's the following Thursday, is it? So two big games against a team who are very difficult to beat. We know that. The Wolves, they don't concede many goals at all. Midfield is playing very well this season. Ruben Neves, a player I've very much like. I'd have no objections to Arsenal signing him in the summer. They tried to sign him last summer, didn't. Wouldn't surprise me if they go back in for him. But that's something for the summer. We'll have to wait and see. I'm not going to delve into transfers again now with the window only just shut in. But they've got a strong midfield and they're both playing well, him and Moutinho. And Arsenal are going to have to be really on their game if they're going to get something against Wolves. They're certainly going to have to create more chances than they did against Burnley. You would think that they're going to have to cause Wolves a little bit more problem, move the ball quicker, and you would hope now they're going to be refreshed, because they did look tired against Burnley. There's no doubt about that. You would hope the little break they've had in Dubai has given some players time to have a breather, sort of recharge those batteries, and then you can really see the attacking players causing Wolves problem. And by that I mean Saka, Martinelli if he plays, Odegaard at number 10, Smith Rowe if he comes back into the team, and Lacazette as well up front. In terms of team news for it, well, certainly Tomiyasu, I want to say positive news from Mikel, but I don't know. It kind of hedging the bets, really. This is what he had to say about Tomiyasu, who we know is not been training for certainly the start of the break. It seems like he is training now, though, because this is what Mikel had to say. He had a recurring injury in the same place, so we have to be careful with him, but he's been training hard. Let's see if he's available or not. Now, we know he didn't train in Dubai, so I imagine what Mikel's saying there is that he has been training since they got back to London Colney, which is, I didn't see him in any of the training pictures. That doesn't mean he hasn't been training, but I didn't see him in any of the training pictures that were released from Colney, I think on Tuesday or Monday. So, you know, I think it might be pushing it. We'll have to wait and see if Tomiyasu plays or not. I think the fact that this is a recurring injury, this calf problem, you don't want to take any risks. And if he is getting close to being back, then maybe you hold off for one more game, because Arsenal rushed him back to play that match against Liverpool in the League Cup semi-final, and it backfired massively. He clearly wasn't fit. He struggled. It was his worst performance in an Arsenal shirt because he wasn't fit, and he aggravated the injury, and that ruled him out for the next 3 weeks. So you don't want to take any risks with him, because he's such an important player. We know how good he is. We know how solid he makes Arsenal defensively. And so you don't want to take any risks with him. And if that means playing Cedric for one game, or it means moving Ben White to the right back and playing Rob Holding alongside Gabriel at centre back, then that's what you do. Personally, as I said earlier on in this week when I did a video, I'd play Cedric there, because I just don't want to. I don't like the idea of disrupting the centre back partnership of Gabriel and Ben White, because it's really solid, and I just don't like the idea of disrupting that. So I'd play Cedric if Tomiyasu doesn't make it. But fingers crossed he does, and we'll find out obviously tomorrow at Molineux. Elsewhere, in terms of team news, I mean, Arsenal, they're in good shape, which is great, unless they're hiding anything that happened in training this week that we don't know about. But Granit Xhaka's back from suspension, Thomas Partey's back from suspension, Mohamed Elneny is back now at London Colney. I expect he will certainly be involved. Doubt he'll start, but he'll certainly be involved in the squad. Nicolas Pepe, obviously he's been back for a while now since the African Cup of Nations, so he'll definitely be involved in the squad as well. So Arsenal looking, you know, pretty strong. It only really rolls around Tomiyasu when it comes to the squad, team news wise. So that's good news for Mikel going into tomorrow night's game. I will be at Molineux. I'll be heading up there tomorrow. Depending on what the setup's like in the press box, I'll try and do the usual pre-match stuff on here, so keep an eye out for that. But I'll also pop on tomorrow, do a video looking ahead to the match in a little bit more detail, give my predicted 11, that sort of thing. Thank you for watching, everyone. Appreciate your day, appreciate your time. Go out and enjoy the day. Sun is shining. Go out there, enjoy it. And yeah, I'll be back tomorrow to preview that Wolves game. Have a great day.